Welcome to KCSE English. In today's episode, we continue our discussion of the themes in Adol's House by Henrik Ibsen. With me to discuss this book is Madam Brenda Midika. Brenda Midika is a seasoned teacher and one who is well versed with examination setting in this country. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
Now, if I recall what we were discussing last time,
Yes.
I remember we had outlined 7 themes that we had identified in this play.
Yes.
We had discussed the first 3, if I'm not very wrong. We had discussed the role of women in society. We had discussed the obligation of each one of us to the family. And I think we had also focused on appearances versus reality, in which we concluded that there is a sense in which what we see initially in the characters that we encounter in this play is not exactly the reality of who these characters are. And I remember towards the end, I was saying that Helma is not the initial Helma who looks down upon Nora in the initial stages. Towards the end, he is actually reduced to some kind of beggar. Now, after looking at that, I think it is now important for us to look at the other themes that we had identified. The idea of deception, the idea of lying, and generally cheating. And so perhaps you may want to pick it from there so that we continue.
It is very important that our students learn that lying, cheating has this big word that is deception. And so the theme of deception from Adol's House, we are looking at Nora, how she lies to the husband that she did not borrow money, but she got the money, and she doesn't even reveal it that she got the money. All that she knows, she got the money and went and took Helma for treatment. And all along, Helma does not know that this money was borrowed from Krogstad, who apparently he doesn't have a liking for. So you see, Nora, you can say maybe pretends that all is well, and Helma thinks that all is well, the reality that everything is well, but it is not the real truth. And so, in as much as Nora deceives the husband, do we say that this deception is genuine?
Now, it's very interesting. Why did Nora deceive the husband?
For the better of his health, for him to have a bright future. Probably.
So there is a sense in which this deception that we encounter in this play is a bit positive, in the sense that she actually deceives the husband in order to get, to keep his dignity, and to make sure that he is treated and he becomes the healthy man that she would like him to be. But at the same time, we have to learn something. Whatever you do comes to haunt you later. You see, there is a mix of issues there. In borrowing money from Krogstad, this lady Nora did not at any single moment visualize a situation where Krogstad would actually use it to blackmail her. And so the main message that we are getting from this play is that it is wrong to cheat. It is wrong to deceive. It is better to simply be open about what you can do and what you cannot do. But there is also something else here. When you look at Linde then becomes the moral voice. Because towards the end, she actually would like the two to face reality, Helma and Nora. And therefore, she is some kind of moral voice in the text and would like the two to confront that reality.
True.
And so, how do they confront that reality? This is the question that perhaps you may want to take on. How do they confront that reality?
It is the interaction between Linde and Nora that actually brings out this strong personality, strong assertiveness from Nora. And so when Nora comes to the realization that these are just sacrifices that she has made, yet there is no appreciation, what does she do? She decides to face Helma and tell Helma, this is what I want, and I believe it is time for me to walk out and go and at least find myself out. But for me, I usually ask, is at the end of this deception has been revealed, it has been solved, it has been a bit solved, but is Nora working out the right way to have ended it?
Now, I think there is something deeper than that. Nora seems to have realized that with the kind of structures within that society and with the kind of man she was living with, or the husband for that matter, she would never realize herself. She would never really come to terms with the real self that she is. And therefore, she actually frees herself from some kind of bondage.
Okay.
And I think that is very important for us to appreciate that this lady is actually yearning for some freedom. And she appreciates the fact that there can be no freedom within that environment. But having looked at that, let's turn to the issue of patriarchal structures and how they affect women in this text.
Patriarchy is the dominance of men in a certain community. The structures, the economic, the social, the political structures are organized in a way that they favor the male. We can even see here in this text is that the way the society is organized, the men are the ones who are given the head positions. Look at Helma. Helma comes out as a very demanding character. Very demanding and very domineering. The first thing, he even bans Nora from eating macarons. You see, I told you don't eat this. You see, he has even defined what the wife is going to eat.
And even how to dress.
Exactly.
Yes.
He is organizing and picking out some of the dresses for her to put on. And so we see that in terms of the household, Helma, in as much as that he doesn't drive much of the activities in the house, but he is the one who is domineering the whole household. He is even domineering the relationship between him and Nora. Again, we are also looking at how economically he is the one who is bringing in the money. And so Nora has to pick out that little money so that she can save to pay Krogstad's debt.
We note that the husband says she's a bit spendthrift. Could we say that is a strategy on the part of Nora to actually get money from this man?
Because she actually has a debt to pay. Yes. And so you would pretend that you are doing impulse buying, you are going for shopping, but yet the money that she's being given, it is going back to offset a debt that she took for her on behalf of her husband. Eh?
Now this is interesting.
Yes, yeah, Professor.
Now when we go back to the issue of patriarchy, and let's bring this book to our setting. Women in our society also face the same challenges. For example, there are very many women in this country who cannot borrow a loan from a bank because of the fact that they have no title deed, They have nothing to show that they own anything in this country, and therefore it becomes very difficult for them to actually get empowered to develop themselves. And so the most important thing, I think, is to try to apply this information to our kind of society, where you look at even the structures that define the arrangement in terms of ownership of property, inheritance of property, the kind of structures that make families decide to take a boy to school and leave the a daughter at home, and so on. The issues that of say female genital mutilation that actually come in, because all of them actually resonate around the idea of patriarchy.
True.
The dominance of men in society. And with that kind of thing, I think we need to make a point here that women form half of the population. The moment you don't empower over half of your population in a country, you cannot develop. And I think this is something that should come out. But again, the learners should actually engage this book even more deeply and bring out other subtle examples.
Yes.
Remember, what we are doing is just to pick out a few of the examples. It is up to the learner now to read the text again and again to pick out some of the issues that we have not picked out. But having said that, I think it is important for us now to turn to emancipation of women.
Yes, it's very true. With the emancipation of women, just the way you have emphasized on this part, or that if a country does not empower its women, then this country or this population is at risk. And so the way we are talking about emancipation, look at how Nora becomes assertive, how she comes to know about herself, and how she believes that this knowing about herself is some kind of freedom to her life. And so when emancipation is the idea, or the ability to be aware of who you are, and what are your strengths and what are your abilities, and from there you are in a position to make very empowered decisions. And the decision that Nora took is one decision maybe it wasn't even expected of her, being that she had been this submissive, subdued woman.
This takes me back to Linde. I think the emancipation, she makes a decision at the beginning, of course, to marry this man who has some money to help her to take care of the family.
Yes.
But at the end, when she now meets Krogstad again, she is actually free to make a suggestion that they can get together. It is that freedom, really.
Yes.
We are seeing an empowered woman who is making a decision. And again, this should come back to our girl child. Can you make that decision and make your position very clear that there are certain things you can do now that one or two things are out of your way, and so on. And so there is something that women should actually pick out, and girls should pick out from the whole idea of emancipation. But just going back to the character of Nora, towards the end, we see an empowered woman taking a decision to walk out, and she's confident that she is going out to actually start a journey of self-discovery.
It's true.
And that is very important for any woman or any girl in society. But coming to the last theme that we identified, the theme of societal norms, the morals versus the individual in this text.
This theme is basically addressing is what does the society expect of us as individuals? And what do we as individuals expect of ourselves? Yes, the society expected Nora to play the role of a wife, a mother, a caregiver, and all the other expectations and all those obligations that women have been told to carry. But again, you look at the individual Nora herself. In all this that she is taking care of, does it make her a happy individual? You see, does it make her happy? There are many societal expectations on individuals, but again, look at them. Are they happy? Are they deeply inside there? So as much as we will be running to meet the societal needs, we are living up to the societal expectations. Again, we don't want people to pretend and yet they are collapsing inside. I would understand it from that perspective. Maybe if you can shed more on these societal norms and the individual.
No, yeah, I think we have looked at these female characters, and I think we are sort of biased now. We are focusing more on the female characters, and
Yes,
we
of
also
course,
have
because
male.
I'm a female.
Yeah, I think you are driving me towards that direction.
Yes.
And basically, because I'm a feminist, I'm sort of moving into that towards that direction. But I think we need to turn back and look at the male characters in the play. You note that the society expects certain things from people, and society has a way of defining and redefining somebody. So, looking at Krogstad, there is a black spot in his life, and that black spot of some form of felony that he committed rather, follows him all through up to the end. So in other words, society has certain parameters within which it defines us. And the moment you veer out, then it becomes very difficult for that society to actually accept you back. And that is one big problem that we encounter when it comes to the individual versus society. There are certain expectations. There is, for example, a situation where when you go outside or when you do certain things that have not been defined by society, then you are blacklisted.
True.
And it becomes very difficult for you to come back to to be accepted within that society. And I think this is something that it's prominent in this book. For example, for me, Helma is actually some product of that society that is expecting certain things. That you do this, you are right. You do this, you are wrong. And there are no two ways. So that is why we see him prescribing certain things for Nora, that this is the direction to take. Even towards the end, as he pleads with Nora, we see him actually asking, do you know your obligations? That you are supposed to be, taking care of this family and so on. So there is a sense in which society defines us in a certain way and makes it difficult for us to realize ourselves, to appreciate ourselves, and to actually challenge certain values that society has put in place.
It's true. And probably this is might be leading to so much frustrations out there. People want to live the life that the society wants them to live, but deep inside they know there is something that is not complete.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Thank you very much, Madam Brenda Midika. That brings us to the end of today's episode of KCSE English. In today's episode, we concluded our discussion of the themes in A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. I want to invite you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel in order to receive our updates. I am Igara Kabali.